Hello and welcome to English Spark Official. I'm Zayden, joined as always by Alara.
Hey everyone! We're so excited about today's topic.
Have you ever tried to make a totally new sound in a foreign language and your mouth just completely freezes up?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It is the most frustrating feeling.
Right. I mean, your brain knows exactly what the word is supposed to sound like.
Yeah, you can hear perfectly in your head.
Exactly. But your facial muscles just refuse to cooperate. It feels like your tongue ties itself into a knot.
It really does. It is a very weird, uncomfortable physical feeling.
It really is. Well, welcome to today's deep dive, everyone, because today we are looking at an educational masterclass that throws out traditional language textbooks entirely because of that exact problem.
And it is a fascinating pivot from the way we normally think about education.
Right. So we are looking at a masterclass from a channel called English Spark Official.
Yes. And the masterclass is called The Art of the Glottal Stop.
But the specific video we are digging into today has this really interesting title. It's called Glottal Stops Explained, Physical Skills for Better Accents.
And that one phrase right there, physical skills, that is the entire mission of our deep dive today.
Yeah, I am so excited about this idea. The idea that learning an accent isn't just about reading books. It is a physical skill.
Exactly. We are going to uncover the fascinating methods this masterclass uses to teach language. We are going to look closely at the step-by-step structure this program uses to teach real-life English.
And before we get into it, I want to explicitly mention something to you, the listener.
Right, about the tone of the show today.
Yeah. Today, we are going to keep things very clear and easy to understand. We are going to match the exact style of the masterclass we are studying.
Which means no overly complicated words. We are keeping the vocabulary simple and the sentences short.
Yes. Because if we are studying a class that makes things easy to understand, we should do the same thing for you.
Makes total sense. So to really understand why they teach this way, we have to start by looking at who they are building these lessons for.
Right. The target audience.
Exactly. The source material tells us that this program heavily targets learners who are at an A2 to B2 level in English.
Okay, let's stop and explain that just to keep things super simple.
Good idea.
So if you are an A2 or a B2 learner, you are not a total beginner. It is not your very first day learning English.
Right. You already know how to say hello or ask where the bathroom is.
Yeah, you have a foundation. You can hold a basic conversation, but you are nowhere near perfect fluency.
You are in this messy middle ground. You know enough to survive, but you also know enough to realize how many words you still don't know.
It is a very frustrating place to be. But the masterclass adds another really important detail about their audience.
Yes, they do. They are specifically targeting A2 to B2 learners who are currently living in English-speaking environments.
And that changes everything about how a lesson needs to be built.
It really does. Think about it. It is very different to learn English in a quiet classroom in your home country for an hour a week.
Right. Versus trying to learn English while you are actually living and working in London or New York.
Exactly. If you live in an English-speaking environment, you are surrounded by the language every single second.
You hear it on the train, you hear it at the grocery store, you hear it at work.
And the people around you are not speaking slowly.
Yeah.
They are mumbling, they're using slang, they are talking super fast.
It is exhausting. So when you live in that real-world environment, you do not need a robotic textbook.
No, you definitely don't. You need to understand the daily life conversations happening around you right now.
Okay, but let me ask you a question. Let me just push back for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
Why do they want to avoid textbooks so much? Aren't textbooks the safest way to learn the rules? Like, if you don't use textbooks, won't people just learn bad grammar?
Well, that is what people usually worry about. But the source material gives a very firm answer to that.
What do they say?
The creators specifically warn their teachers against using robotic or repetitive phrases.
So no textbook dialogues.
Right. And they also say you must avoid difficult grammar that is beyond the B2 level.
Wow, so they actively tell teachers to stop teaching hard grammar.
Exactly. Because the goal is not to pass a strict writing test. The goal is natural human-like conversation.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. Think about a textbook dialogue. It's always hello, how are you today?
And the other person says, I am fine, thank you, and how are you?
Right, and nobody actually talks like that in real life. If you talk like that at your office, you sound like a robot.
Exactly. If the teaching is robotic, the student will sound robotic. So they prioritize natural connection over perfect grammar.
Okay, so knowing who the program is for really explains how they handle difficult topics.
Yes, it completely shapes their rules. which leads us to their very specific rule for teaching vocabulary.
Right. We are calling this the staircase method.
Yeah, the program has a strict rule about language levels. They say you must always start with simple vocabulary.
And then you just gradually, slowly increase the difficulty.
Yes, but here's the really important part. If a teacher absolutely has to use a difficult word, they must explain it naturally inside the conversation.
Right. They strictly avoid complex academic jargon. No huge, confusing words without a simple explanation.
And this approach is just beautiful. Instead of feeling crushed by a giant wall of hard words, the learner is guided up slowly.
It is exactly like climbing a staircase.
How do you mean?
Well, think about it. You do not jump from the bottom floor to the top floor in one big leap, right? You would fall and hurt yourself.
Right, that would be impossible.
Yeah. You take one small, simple step at a time. The steps are easy.
I love that analogy.
And if you hit a step that is a little bit higher, like a difficult new word, the teacher is right there to gently pull you up.
By defining that word right there in the chat.
Exactly, without making a big deal out of it.
And you know, this really empowers the listener. It makes them feel safe.
How so?
Because when you define hard words inside a natural conversation, the listener learns without feeling like they are sitting in a strict school class.
Right, it doesn't feel like a test, it just feels like a friend explaining something to you.
Exactly. Keeps the anxiety very low. And this gentle step-by-step approach isn't just for vocabulary.
Right. It is exactly how they teach the main physical topic of the video.
Which brings us to the core concept. Let's look at that video title again. Glottal stops, explained. Physical skills for better accents.
Okay, we really need to stop and analyze that phrase. Physical skills.
Yes, because this completely changes how we think about language.
Right, because usually we think of language as something that happens only in the brain.
Like memorizing long lists of words on a piece of paper.
Yeah, you sit at a desk, you stare at a book, and you just try to push the words into your memory. It's a brain activity.
But this masterclass treats the glottal stop and better accents in general as physical actions.
Wait, really? So are they saying learning an accent is more like learning to play a sport?
Yes, exactly.
Like playing a sport, or maybe learning to play a musical instrument rather than studying math?
That is exactly what they're saying. Think about learning the guitar. Your brain might know all the notes.
Right, you can read the sheet music.
But if your fingers have never physically touched the strings, you won't be able to play. Your muscles don't know what to do.
Oh, wow. That makes so much sense. Your tongue and your mouth are muscles.
Exactly. And when you learn a new accent, you're asking those muscles to move in completely new ways.
Let's actually explain what a glottal stop is, just to make this super clear for everyone.
Good idea.
So a glottal stop is that tiny catch in the back of your throat. It's the sound in the middle of the word uh-oh.
Yes. Your vocal cords quickly slam together to stop the air, and then they release it.
And a lot of English accents use this all the time. Like, instead of saying water, someone might say water.
Or instead of bottle, they say ball.
Right. And if your native language never uses that physical throat movement, your throat muscles literally do not know how to do it.
Which is why trying to do it can actually make your muscles tired.
So because it is a physical skill, the teaching method cannot just be reading.
Exactly. It has to rely on physical practice and active listening.
Which leads us perfectly into the next part of their structure, the actual tools they use to teach this physical skill.
Right. Because an accent is a physical skill, the master class uses very specific tools to train the body.
And the source material lists 5 of these tools, 5 things the teacher must do.
Let's break them down slowly.
Okay. The first tool is the repetition of key phrases.
This one is simple. If you want to build muscle memory, you have to do the same movement over and over.
Just like lifting weights at the gym, you do lots of reps.
Exactly. So they make the student repeat the words multiple times.
Okay. The second tool is my favorite. It is called shadowing practice.
Shadowing is amazing. The source says the teacher must actually say the phrase, "Repeat after me."
I am so fascinated by shadowing, the idea that you hear a sound and then you immediately have to repeat it back.
Yes. You hear the teacher's tone, their rhythm, their physical mouth shape, and you just copy it instantly.
It forces you to stop overthinking the grammar. You just react physically.
Right. It gets you out of your brain and into your body.
Okay, what is the third tool?
The third tool is listening focus cues. The master class says teachers must use phrases like, "Listen carefully."
So they give you a little warning before the important sound.
Yes. And the reason they do this is really smart, saying "listen carefully" works like a spotlight.
Oh, I like that. A spotlight.
Yeah, it wakes up the listener's brain right before an important sound happens.
Because if you're watching a video for a long time, you kind of zone out, right?
Exactly. Your brain tries to save energy, so you stop paying close attention.
But when the teacher says, listen carefully, your brain goes, oh, wake up. This is important.
Right. It prepares your ears to hear the tiny details.
That is so clever. Okay, the fourth tool is using small interactive questions.
Like asking the listener, how did your throat feel just now?
This breaks the video format, right? It makes the viewer actually pay attention to their own body.
Yes, because the teacher isn't in the room with you. You have to be your own teacher. You have to feel your own throat.
Wow. And the final tool is short, natural pauses.
This one is crucial. The teachers are told they must leave short, quiet pauses in the video.
Why is that? Why not just talk the whole time?
Because if the student is practicing a physical skill, their brain needs time to catch up.
Oh, right. They need time to process the physical sound they just heard.
Exactly. If the teacher just keeps talking and talking, the student gets overwhelmed. They need a quiet second to try the sound themselves.
You know, looking at all 5 of these tools, repetition, shadowing, listening cues, questions, and pauses, it reminds me of something.
What's that?
It is exactly like a workout video for your mouth.
Yes, that is a perfect analogy.
Think about a fitness video. The trainer says, watch me. That's the listening cue.
Right.
Then they do the move. Then they say, now it's your turn. That's the shadowing.
Exactly.
And then the trainer just stands there and pauses. They give you silence so you can actually do the exercise on your living room floor.
If they didn't pause, you would just sit on the couch and watch them the whole time.
Yes, you have to have the silence to do the physical work.
It is a brilliant way to teach. But there is a catch.
Uh-oh. What is the catch?
Well, all of these individual exercises, the shadowing, the repeating, the pausing, they need a really good structure to hold them together.
Right. If you just throw random exercises at a learner, they are going to get confused and tired.
Exactly. The lesson needs a strong foundation. And that brings us to their blended lesson architecture.
This is the actual map of how they build every single lesson, and the source material breaks it down completely.
It does. It is a very specific structure. Let's list the parts.
Okay, let's go through them. It starts with a hook,
Then a greeting, which connects the channel name to the topic.
then an introduction, followed by a core explanation,
After that, a deep dive, and then examples.
then the practice section, which is where the workout happens.
Right. Then a recap, followed by a practice assignment.
And finally, a motivational closing line and a call to action.
Yes, it is a very long, very detailed list of sections.
It is, but there is one rule the source material highlights that is so important.
Crucially important. The source clearly states, do not label sections explicitly. Everything must feel like a natural conversation.
So they have this huge, complicated 11-part structure, but they hide it from the listener.
Yes, they are hiding the seams of the lesson.
Like a tailor hiding the stitches inside a really nice jacket.
Exactly. The structure is there holding everything up, but you never see it.
But why? Why hide the structure? Why not just say, okay, now we are moving to section 4, the deep dive.
Well, think about how that feels. If a teacher tells a learner, now it is time for the deep dive explanation, how do they react?
I would be terrified. It sounds like I'm about to take a really hard test.
Right. It feels too academic and scary. The learner will freeze up.
They might even turn off the video because it feels too much like hard work.
Exactly. But if you just smoothly move from one topic to the next without announcing it, the learner stays relaxed.
It feels like a normal chat. I love how this structure takes the listener on a complete journey, too.
Yes, it really does.
It grabs their attention right away at the start with the hook.
Right. It tells them why this is important for their real life.
Then it gives them the core facts, simply. Then it goes deep. Then it does the heavy physical practice.
And then it finally gives them a practice assignment.
I thought this was so cool. The assignment isn't like a boring worksheet.
No, it is a real-world task.
Yeah. It tells them to take what they learned and actually use it out in their real life right away. Like, go order a coffee using the glottal stop.
Exactly. It connects the video back to their real-world English environment.
But I want to talk about the end of the lesson, the motivational closing line.
Yes, this is so vital.
Because learning an accent is hard physical work, right?
It is. It is exhausting. Your mouth hurts, your brain is tired, and you probably failed a few times during the video.
Right. So ending with a strong positive motivation is so important to keep these A2B2 learners from giving up.
If you just say goodbye, They might leave feeling sad about the sounds they couldn't make.
But if you say, I know this was hard, but your muscles are getting stronger, keep going, it totally changes how they feel.
It really does. It shows deep care for the student's emotions.
So let's summarize all these amazing key takeaways in nice, simple language.
Sounds good.
English Spark Official teaches accents like the tricky glottal stop, not as boring textbook rules, but as actual physical skills.
Right. You have to train your mouth muscles.
They use active tools like shadowing, careful listening cues, and pauses.
And they teach step-by-step vocabulary inside a hidden, naturally flowing structure.
All to help people communicate better in the messy, real world. It really is a masterpiece of teaching.
It absolutely is. And, thinking about all this leaves me with a really interesting final thought.
Oh, I love a good final provocative thought. What are you thinking?
Well, we talked all day about treating language as a physical skill.
Right.
That moving your body is the real secret to mastering these difficult sounds.
Right. Not just using your brain.
So how might thinking of your whole body, and not just your brain, change the way you learn any new skill in your life?
Oh, wow. That is a really cool question.
Right. If you want to learn to code, or learn to cook, or even learn how to listen better to your friends, what if your brain isn't enough?
What if you have to find a way to physically practice it in the real world?
Exactly. Once you start treating learning as a full-body sport, the way you improve at everything might just completely change.
I love that. You have to actually step on the court and play. Well, that is a fantastic thought to leave you with today. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive.
Yes, thank you for listening.
Remember to keep practicing those physical skills. Don't let the textbooks hold you back, and we will see you next time.